Time is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime.
Welcome to This Gay Week with Scott, who is still in the Ukraine, and me, Karel, the gay. It's been a week to be gay. We lost an icon, but we won a court case. We'll talk about that and so much more on This Gay Week.
Now it's showtime.
Hello, Karelians, and welcome to The Karel Show. It is time for This Gay Week. Scott Jacobsen is with us. He is, of course, in Kiev, Ukraine. We'll talk to him a little bit about that at first. And then we got to talk about the loss of an icon, the winning of a court battle in Texas, and other such things going on around the world in the world of LGBTQ people. Right now, let's just go straight to the Ukraine. Well, not straight to, not on This Gay Week, certainly. Hello, Scott. How are things in Kyiv?
Nothing but detours on this show.
Yeah, we've heard nothing but bad things about Kyiv, so tell us the truth. What's going on there?
Bombings are fewer than they have been in recent weeks. Quite a few air raid alarms on a couple of the days, but in general, more or less quiet. Some of the more controversial things have to do with some of the social and political controversies around anti-corruption, around support for individuals who are undergoing some of those processes. And so they typically, I think it's SAPO, NABU, and ESBU are sort of the main bodies.
How long more is Zelensky president for? He's been president this whole time.
So there's one defense guy that was resigned or sacked who has made some statements about calling for an election during wartime. There have been a lot of protests over his not being in his position because many of the advances in the front line due to drone technology advancements have been attributed to his leadership. Some saw his sort of removal as unfair, and so now he's calling for, and he made an actual public statement about elections. That's point one. Point two, we are under martial law, and so the term has already been extended past regular processes. However, under wartime, particularly for a defender state, that does seem to be pretty normal in democratic society.
Well, Trump is hoping for that, ain't he? He wants to find a way to stay in and call off the election. However, here in the United States, our Constitution makes no provisions for that. We have had elections during world wars, during Civil War. The Constitution states it happens on this date, period, end. There's no martial law or anything. All right, well, we are on This Gay Week, and we got 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in this segment, but I've been talking about it. I was on air when it happened. Someone in the chat room actually told me that Dolly Parton had died. Dolly Parton was an enormous LGBTQ advocate and a Christian. She found a way to be both. And her way was fabulous. Her way was, you know what? I'm not going to judge. It says in the Bible that I don't judge. Judge not, lest ye not be judged. So I leave that to God. So I'm too busy loving and accepting people for who they are. And she said, God doesn't make mistakes. If you're gay, you're gay. If you're straight, you're straight. That's the way God made you. And if there's any problem with that in the afterlife, then you can sort it out with God. And I thought, if people around the world adopted Dolly Parton's stance on LGBTQ people, you and I wouldn't have a show to do every week. Just... yeah, I'm a Christian, or yeah, I'm a Muslim, or yeah, I'm a Jew, or whatever, but it's not for me to judge, and God doesn't make mistakes. He made all people. So I'm going to miss Dolly. She's been in my life ever since I was born. My parents watched her and Porter Wagner on the TV. I saw her on the Johnny Carson show when I was like 14, and she's been in my life ever since. My ex-friend, I guess, Ken, he loved her, had all her albums. I used to hear her every day. And she was just a stellar human being. could have been a billionaire, but decided to give away a lot of her money. She really is a shining example. As we talk about all these other stories going on around the world, she is truly a shining example of what happens if you choose love, and what happens if you choose to live and let live, and what happens if you choose to spread joy instead of division and hatred. When we come back, we're going to talk about a court ruling that just happened yesterday in Texas that actually cites Dolly Parton. The judge actually references her in the ruling. And so we're going to talk about that on This Gay Week with Scott, who is in Kiev, Ukraine, and me sitting safely, although it's going to be 110, in Las Vegas. So I'm going to roast, and he's going to watch some weapons falling from the sky.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
You have to be proud with hatred.
Hey everyone, it's Karel. Stream You Have to Be Proud wherever you get your music, and let it fill you with the pride it filled me in doing it.
To be strong.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
All right, welcome back to the Karel Show This Gay Week. This is a story that I'm springing on Scott because it just happened yesterday. And I didn't have time to brief him on it. But we are joined by, of course, Scott Jacobsen of the Good Man Project. And you can go read all of his writing at the Good Man Project. It's there for you for free to go read. Also, his podcasts are coming up at Rabble, including one that he sent me that I felt like I was a child watching because I did not understand shit. But it was on physics and Joe just out there in the world. But I watched.
Those people know a lot.
Yeah, that's what scared me. I'm like, my brain can't even hold that much knowledge. It's like, oh my God. Okay, so the story is out of Texas, where a Reagan-appointed judge has just pissed off the governor and every Republican in the state by striking down the drag ban in the state. 7 states have drag bans, and this Reagan-appointed judge struck it down, saying the law was too vague, that drag is a protected First Amendment freedom of speech right, which shall not be infringed, and that Texas nightclubs and venues had no reason to bar or to stop the drag shows. And the main complaint was that they were sexual in nature, and he cited Dolly Parton, saying some could say that her big blonde hair, fully exposed cleavage, and tight dresses made her an item of lust and of sexual desire. And yet they're not. He also said that cheerleaders, that under this particular law, cheerleaders, plays with any kind of sexuality in them at all, and all of that could then be challenged as illegal or immoral under this law. So he said it was too vague. And then but don't despair, Scott. He did offer a solution to the governor and to the plaintiffs, or to the defendants in the case. And do you know what that, or no, the plaintiffs in the case. And do you know what that was?
What?
If you don't like drag shows and find them offensive, don't go to them.
Which is the very common counter.
That was in it's in his ruling. He says that it's protected speech, it's First Amendment right. He said it's also too vague. Under it, Dolly Parton could be banned. And then 3, he said that it in no way violates anybody's rights, because if you find drag shows offensive, you don't have to go to them. And it's a beautiful ruling. I don't know that they'll appeal it to the Supreme Court. I hope they do, because even these horrible justices that we have will have to acknowledge that drag is freedom of speech, just like any other theater, and it must be allowed. So it's a great ruling by this judge, a Reagan appointee, who basically said if you don't like them, don't go, but otherwise it is protected speech, and under that law is written, people like Dolly Parton or cheerleaders or people in plays could all fall under the law, so therefore it's far too vague. So that was a good thing. Yes, darling?
We understand all this intuitively in other contexts. Remember, George Carlin had a famous bit about you can turn the knob or turn off the radio, like change the station, or turn down the volume and turn off the radio. I don't have to be covering this war story with missiles coming down. I put myself in danger knowingly. I take accountability and responsibility for that decision, right? I was
KFI had the same viewpoint when Andrew and I were on air, and they would get calls that say, "Why are these gay guys on air? These gay guys shouldn't be on air." Their patent response was, "Well, the good news is you don't have to listen." And then and of course they did. The haters listen to you more than people who like you, and that's just a fact.
True.
Statistically, haters listen longer than people who actually like you. All right, you want to start in the Ukraine with the other stories at the Pride March in Kharkiv?
Sure. Kharkiv Pride organizers have announced September events, including Pride Fest and a September 12th march, coordinated, very important, with police. As was noted to me, as I noted to you, in a prior period of Pride events in Ukraine, there was a period where young men wanted to put feces in condoms and then fling them at the protesters. They were stopped from their shenanigans. And so participants plan to demand legal recognition of same-sex partnerships and marriages, stronger hate crime protections and equality, while parallel Pride events occur in Kyiv and Lviv. So
it would appear to me that in Ukraine, and given since you've been there, we have covered LGBTQ stories from the region, which is something I never would have thought of in the past. So I'm grateful for being exposed. It would appear the genie is out of the bottle. The Ukrainians are saying, hey, look, we serve in the military, we are part of this society, and we want these rights. And it appears they're not letting up. Pig heads be damned. It appears that they are going to continue fighting, demanding the legalization of same-sex marriage, the recognition of LGBTQ people able to adopt, and as we spoke about the surrogacy issue that's going on there, LGBTQ people also want the right to use those surrogates. And it looks like popular opinion is with them. People are so focused on the war and eating and the economy and all that. They're like, let the gays have what the gays want. Who cares? We got other, we got other things to worry about right now. Which always, look, we've made gains like that before, where the country or the world was too busy to really be bothered. So we just took advantage of that and made some strides. Right now in the Ukraine, they're a little too busy to be bothered. So gay people are like, now's our time. Let's try to move this forward. And they are. All events, as you said, are coordinated with the National Police, which is important because they're going to need them, because just because a lot of people seem to be on board with it doesn't mean everybody is. And as you know, it can get dangerous.
And there's probably when you talk to ordinary Ukrainians, a distinction between the generations and their attitudes of those who are Soviet, those who are immediate post-Soviet, and those who are contemporary young adult Ukrainians.
And let me tell you without even you telling me how it goes. Contemporary young adults Ukrainian, totally for civil rights for the most part. Let them have marriage, let them adopt, all that. Immediate pre-Russia, dead set against it. Post-Russia, right, immediately post-Russia, probably a majority against it. So it would go totally, majority, and then totally for. By generation.
That would be the qualitative. Sentiment. I'd have to do a formal sort of project looking at different surveys, but that's the general qualitative sentiment.
Yeah.
In conversation with ordinary Ukrainians. Yeah.
I love how in the article you said from the Union of Orthodox Journalists down at the bottom it says part of the so-called Pride Month. So-called Pride Month. They can't just say part of Pride Month. It's so-called Pride Month.
Well, for them, they do this rhetoric that Jordan Peterson does on Pride, where he says, "Can't call it Pride. Pride is a cardinal sin. It is a deliberate misreading."
Yeah, I don't really think pride would be a cardinal sin. I don't, but what do I know? All right, another good news story. People have gathered outside the EU institutions in solidarity with Poland's LGBTQ community in Brussels. That is a good story. There are people that are gathering at other places to show Poland they support the LGBTQ community and recognizing, again, same-sex marriage is on the docket. But it's great that people in the EU are actually rallying outside of Poland to support Poland LGBTQ community. As a member of a gay community, I will tell you, it does make us feel good when others in other parts of the world show their support for what we're doing. So it energizes a movement. So this will definitely energize the LGBTQ community in Brussels and in Poland. So this is a good thing. I think there's not much else to that story. I'm looking. No, that was it. Just that they are marching and gathering outside the European Union institutions in solidarity with Poland's LGBT community. The next story we are going to move on to. Do we want to do the lavender scare? Do you know what that is, the lavender scare?
The lavender scare. You told me about this earlier. I think you're the one who introduced me to this term.
Yeah. So you got to watch the show Fellow Travelers with Matt Bomer and what's his name? My future husband, Jonathan Groff. In the 1950s, while McCarthy was doing his thing, they were also purging gay people from the agencies, FBI, police, and it was called the Lavender Scare because they were aggressively pursuing people, making them take lie detector tests. Have you ever had sex with someone of the same gender? Have you ever gone to this bar? Have you ever, very much like the Nazis did after the brown shirts fell. And that was called the Lavender Scare. And it was when businesses, and not just government, but when businesses went through and purged LGBTQ people, it drove a lot of them in the closet. And there were a lot of lavender marriages, as they're called, just so they could bring the lovely wife to the dinners, but later on they were going off and seeing their boyfriend. So yeah, it's happening again. The CIA, the FBI, they've all spent several decades getting away from the Lavender Scare. That's because those are the agencies where it took place. So they have been decades getting away from that, and now, under both terms of Donald Trump, they're actually going back to it. It is back in effect. And so I guess everything old is new again. And, it won't end until Trump ends or his administration's over, or until Congress or someone steps in and says, stop this. But unfortunately, the CIA and others are going to keep doing this. The CIA's LGBT group of Pride Month celebrations, an end to minority, that they're banning the CIA's LGBTQ group's Pride Month celebration. They're putting an end to minority outreach and recruitment, and the firing of officers for participating in diversity efforts or any transgendered related group chat, whether on or off the clock. It's the Lavender Scare. It's a witch hunt. And it's happening right now as we speak. So, it ended last time. It'll end again. But lives are going to be destroyed. People's careers are going to be ended for nothing. Because in our country, it goes the same way as it does in Ukraine. Baby boomers, no gay, no gay, no gay. Millennials, okay. Or I'm sorry, Gen X, okay, gay, okay. Millennials, gay, really okay. Gen Y and Z, we're gay. Because like 21%.
Gay.
Yeah, because 21% of them now identify as gay, with a majority of that being bisexual, by the way. Of the 21%, 16% identify as bisexual. The rest are gay, lesbian, or trans. But still, that number's a large number now, 21%. I mean, it used to be like 5 to 7%.
We're not quite bonobos. We're not quite bonobos, but we're getting there.
Not yet. But so this will change. These lavender scares, these witch hunts will change as the older people are removed from the agencies. And younger people are all for that. I mean, look who's winning the elections around the country. It's young socialists, basically. All right, we're going to break in a minute and a half, but the Log Cabin Republicans, the smallest group of self-loathing queers known to politics, has decided to drop transgender from LGBT to back Trump's policy. This is an alarming trend that's worldwide. There are gays in the UK, there are gays all over, I'm sure in the Ukraine, who are now trying to say, I'm gay, I'm not trans, I'm not bi, I just want the LG or the B. I don't want, In fact, comedian Matt Matthews here in the United States just pissed off a whole lot of gay followers because he's gay when he said, ain't no pronouns up in my house, and if you're born with a tallywhacker, you're a boy. And so, he basically climbed the ladder that people like me, Marsha P. Johnson, and others gave him the power, and now he is denouncing it. It's happening across the globe. And when we come back, we'll talk about Log Cabin. But more importantly, I will tell you the why they are doing this. I know exactly why they're doing it, and why the right is actually encouraging them to do it. This Gay Week with Scott, Jacobsen, and Karel. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't get a bomb dropped on you.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way.
You have to be proud with hatred.
Hey everyone, it's Karel. Pride Month was rough this year. We had a lot of hate heaped upon us from Trump, from MAGA, and from other governments around the world. And if you are a trans person, you are really going through a particular type of hell right now. That's why when I was thinking of my next single in June, I sat down and I wrote, you have to be proud. You have to be proud, with anger so loud, streaming everywhere. Keep fighting, keep singing, keep dancing. We're gonna win.
You have to be strong.
Now it's showtime.
We are back with This Gay Week with Scott Jacobsen of the Good Man Project and me, Karel. I'm every bit LGBTQIA++, baby. And we are talking about the fact that the smallest group of self-loathing queers in politics, better known as the Log Cabin Republicans, whom I've had several very interesting encounters with. Let me rephrase. They weren't interesting. They were frustrating. It was like trying to teach math to a pig. It frustrated me and pissed off the pig. But they have decided to drop transgender, the T, from LGBTQ, and they don't even have the Q, to back Donald Trump's policy and to align with the rollback of transgendered rights since he returned to office. Scott, do you know why they're doing this and why they're being encouraged by the right to do this?
Well, we can go back a little bit further than that question is going to imply, because as you and I have discussed a couple times, Mr. Trump didn't really care and in fact was sort of passively supportive of LGBT back in the day before it became politically expedient. And so this sort of builds into capitulation.
No. I mean, yes, but no. It goes back to the Latin maxim divide et imperia, which means, and by the way, Philip of Macedonia is the one who probably first said it, and Julius Caesar made it famous. Divide and conquer. The LGBTQ plus community is a voting bloc. It is an economic bloc. It is a force with which to be reckoned because they have to reckon with it. If you break that group up into smaller factions, it's no longer as powerful. So the best way to get the group to be less powerful and more fringe is to have them break themselves up. Mm-hmm. And they have found young queers who have no sense of history or obligation to say, yeah, I'm not trans. Why should I have them in my tent? I'm not queer. I'm not this. I'm not even flamboyant. I don't like those old flamboyant gays. And as I reminded people on my show, this is not new. Okay? In the 1950s, one of the first organizations ever started was called the Mattachine Society. Okay? It's in my music video for You Have to Be Proud. And the Mattachine Society thought that we would only get rights and only win if we acted like them. So, women that joined, lesbians, had to wear dresses, had to wear skirts, couldn't wear pants, couldn't wear t-shirts, couldn't wear men's clothing, couldn't wear a man's suit. They had to wear dresses. They had to. Gay men couldn't be all flamboyant. They had to wear a suit and tie, which is what men wore in the 50s. So they had to wear suit and ties. They had to look like their straight counterparts. Public displays of affection were discriminated against. Dancing together in public was frowned upon. And this is from a gay group, a gay organization. It was called the Mattachine Society. And so it is not new to have a faction inside the gay community that says, I'm not that flamboyant queen. I'm not a drag queen. I'm not a this. And they do it because they're so self-loathing and stupid that they think if they appease the homophobes, in some way it's going to be easier for them. They're idiots. They were idiots then. They're idiots now. Our tent not only is big enough to include LGBTQIA, but it should include them all. Because every one of those groups has gone to bat for a person with AIDS. Every one of those groups has helped another letter of that group. Trans people have supported gay men. Trans people have supported gay women. Gay women have supported gay men, certainly during AIDS. Gay women have supported trans people. Queer people, bisexual people. We overlap. And to break us up is stupid, and it fits the right's agenda, and they're too stupid to know it.
Is this why people were suspicious around terms like the alphabet people, or even individuals who have an insane amount of content on it, like Dave Chappelle, were sort of pushing this type of rhetoric as well?
Yes.
And i.e., it's not a block; it is a set of individual groups, and they should be treated as such.
Yes.
This is more of a conservative capitulation to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And they do it because divide and conquer. If you can break all those letters down, like bisexuals are 16%. If you remove bisexuals from LGBTQ and it's just LG, and the bisexuals is like, well, I'm not a gay man. I'm not a trans. Well, then you remove 16% of our voting block. You remove 16% of our economic block. So it is not an accident. And right wing are behind it. And idiot gays are falling for it, just like they did in the 50s. And I'm sure in the 70s and the 90s and every other decade, there's always been some conservative gays who have said, well, but we're not like them. Yes, you are queer. You suck dick. Move on. So anyway. Another good story. You found rather happy stories this week.
It was a good week, and I'm aware of the context around
in
this
Uganda.
Some good stories.
There is Project. Is it Oglas or Douglas or
Project Douglas?
Yeah,
the Douglas. Uganda's Douglas Project of the Peter Tatchell Foundation.
Yes, the Peter Tatchell Foundation. They are funding LGBTQ safe houses. And that's incredible. The Douglas Project, coordinated with Out and Proud African LGBTI, will provide safe premises, food, support, farming income to sustain the project, sport and music activities for LGBT plus Ugandans facing homelessness, underemployment, poverty, and social exclusion. The £15,000 was raised from the foundation's appeal to friends and supporters earlier this year, including Sir Ian McKellen, who presented a check to Opal outside the Uganda House in London. Peter Tatchell and then the PTF operations manager, Simon Harris, coordinated the fundraiser. Great news. Money raised, people that desperately need it are going to get services. That's good. Peter Tatchell said that LGBTQ Ugandans are living under some of the harshest anti-gay laws in the world, with maximum sentences of life imprisonment and even execution by hanging. Many face rejection by their families, eviction from their homes, and dismissal from their schools and jobs. They suffer mob violence, police harassment, blackmail, sexual assault, homelessness, and poverty are widespread. We are proud to fund the project which will provide housing, safe houses, employment, skills training, food, social and friendship networks. That to the people, to queers in Uganda, that's life-saving. It just is.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karelcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karelcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karelcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karelcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy.
Stream I Dance Because on all services.
The song is very, very personal to me, and the video now is very touching to me. I cried the first time. I cry all the time, but I cried the first time I saw it. We all have somebody, whether it's someone that's passed from AIDS or some other thing, we all have people that we danced with, and that's why we dance.
Stream I Dance Because on all services.
Now it's your time.
You have to be proud with hatred so loud. Oh, yes, honey. Got to get those ads in there for my own song. Why not? Scott Jacobsen, this gay week with Karel. He is in Kyiv. We are talking about stories from around the world. We've had several good ones this week because, I said this the other day, Scott. So the Dolly thing has really affected me. So I know when Streisand goes, I'm really going to be a fucking mess. But it affected me in profound ways. And I know that just sounds really weird because I didn't know her. But I know that, no one has said one bad thing about her after her death. That's very special. When you are one of the few people on planet Earth that everybody likes, you're doing something right. And she really was an optimist. She took bad situations, even her cancer. I bet she didn't tell us because she probably said, I'll beat it. And I'll just tell them I was feeling a little sick. And if I don't beat it, I'll die and then they'll know anyway. So she was always looking for the good. She was always looking to find middle ground, to get along, to not judge, to spread love and joy. She was such a talented songwriter, a strong woman in entertainment. And I thought to myself, I want more of that. I want more on my show and in life. I want to be happier. And Dolly chose. It was a choice to be Dolly Parton. That was a lot of work, as she said. It took a lot of money to look that cheap. And she chose a life of campiness, joy, of non-judgment, of helping others. Every day she helped somebody else. Every single day she did some kind of charity work. And I just thought to myself, I want to be more like that and less angry and less mad at the world. The world has given me great reason to be mad at it. And I think gay people, right now, gays, lesbians, especially trans, have a lot of reason to be discouraged and to be angry at what's going on in the world. But anger is a choice. And as I age, I'm starting to think maybe being more like Dolly wouldn't be such a bad thing, to channel it into something good. And that's why the story from the Uganda, where in the UK, they're raising money for Ugandan safe houses. What could be more noble than that? I mean, that's just such a wonderful thing to do. So I think the world needs to be a little more Dolly. And she would love this story. She would adore it. about a French senator slamming Christianophobia over a gay bar's holy phallus party. She would just love a holy phallus party. You know. So, where is this? In France? Yes. French right-wing Senator Stéphanie Ravière, who has never seen a penis, sorry, I don't know that to be true, has accused a Marseille LGBTQ bar, it's in Marseille for the love of God, of promoting unrestrained Christianophobia after it hosted a satirical party on the Catholic feast of Assumption of the Virgin Mary with the Holy Phallus.
It's great.
This came up in America with the Dodgers. So, are you familiar with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence?
Is this the one from John Oliver?
Well, no, it goes back to 1980s to AIDS, but they wear the nun outfits with the white face makeup and the big, huge eyes and cheeks, and they're very overdone, but they dress as nuns. And their names are like, you know, Sister Mary Take It All and, you know, stuff like that. Well, the sisters were being honored. They do a ton of charity work. Mm-hmm. And they were being honored by the Dodgers, and some right-wing Christians got wind, had a fit, so the Dodgers canceled it. And there was such backlash that the Dodgers had to redo it because the sisters do such good charity work. But the Catholic League didn't think so. But in the end, the nuns with the makeup won. So that's all that counts. All right, we'll be right back and talk more about holy phalluses. Holy phallus, Batman!
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
You have to be proud with hatred.
Hey everyone, it's Karel, and I want to invite you to stream my new single, You Have to Be Proud, on Swishcraft Music. You Have to Be Proud by Karel. Go stream it, go march to it, go wave your rainbow flags and piss off MAGA to it. Do whatever you need to do to remind yourself and others we are stronger than ever, and they can't have our pride.
To be strong.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
All praise the holy phallus. Sorry. We gays, we praise the phallus. All right, it is This Gay Week with Scott Jacobsen, who did not know what he was stepping into this week over there in Ukraine, in Kyiv, in an undisclosed location. We keep him hidden away. We must protect him like someone should have protected Dolly. And then Tim Curry. First Dolly and then Frankenfooter? Jesus Christ. If the universe wants to kill 80-year-olds, there's one at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that it could take. But whatever.
I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Do you think culturally the Dolly death will be felt and is being felt
as much as the Judy death?
The Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The way the Ruth Bader Ginsburg death felt.
No, I equate it to the way that Judy Garland felt. Okay. It is this generation's... Okay, so, youngster, let me explain a few things. Let me gay-splain to you. I'll gay-splain to you. Or queer-splain. Queer-splaining. One of the... Some of the mythos, the mythology of Stonewall, and there is mythology of Stonewall, and some of it's rooted in fact, and many things contributed to the Stonewall riots. It wasn't just one thing. The village was very tense because of the Vietnam War, and it wasn't just gays in the village. There were blacks who didn't want to go be drafted. There were war resistors. There were the gays. There were the Italians and the prostitutes because they were deemed lesser people. In fact, the Stonewall Inn was a mafia bar, and it was a bar for degenerates. It was not a bar for gays. It was not a gay bar. There were no gay bars. The Stonewall Inn was a bar for drug addicts, prostitutes, drag queens, gay people. Subsequently, we still hang out with all those people because they're so much fun. So on this evening of 19, and the riot started the next morning at like 1 a.m. But on the evening before, it was the day of Judy Garland's funeral. And queers were on edge that day because Judy had died. And Judy, to this generation of gays in the 1970s and 1960s, I'm sorry, 60s, late 60s, Judy was it. I mean, she was the Streisand. She was the, in fact, the duet of Judy and Barbara is still played and sung to this day because it was like the older Judy passing the torch down to the 20-year-old Barbara. So when Judy died and her funeral happened, they were at the Stonewall Inn watching Judy Garland's funeral. So they were there that night watching her funeral. And they were raw emotionally because of the funeral. So when the cops would normally call the Stonewall Inn and tell them they were going to raid because they were on the take. That night, the cops did not call ahead, which pissed off the mob, by the way. And when they came in and forced their way into the bar, the queens had already had enough. They were emotionally wrung out from Judy's death and from the funeral. And so they just were in a state where they didn't want to take any crap from anybody. And so there's part of this mythology around Stonewall that Judy Garland's death contributed to the start of the riots. And it's a pretty good theory. It holds up. It's held up over all these years. I think Dolly Parton's death is to a younger generation of gays. And some of the olders that know Judy Garland, because she was 80 after all. I certainly grew up with her, and I'm a technical baby boomer, even though I was born in 66 and I'm really a Gen Xer. So I think to Gen X gays and even millennial gays, it's a big deal that she died. It's a very big deal. When Barbara dies, it'll be baby boomers that, freak out. When Diana Ross dies, I don't know. Diana's amassed a huge young gay following. On TikTok and Instagram, I see so many young gays that are going to see her now. And she's 82 and fabulous. And so, but yes, when one of our divas dies, it does change. So today on K-Gay Radio in Palm Springs, the only LGBTQ station in the country that's, 24/7, their lunchtime was Dolly Parton remixes. Last night at 7 o'clock in Palm Springs, there was a candlelight vigil for Dolly Parton. I would not have gone as it was 107 degrees outside. But in San Francisco, there was candlelight vigils for Dolly Parton. In New York, in the Village, last night and tonight and this weekend, there are vigils planned in the gay community for Dolly Parton. RuPaul's Drag Race did an entire Dolly Parton-themed show where every queen had to be Dolly Parton. So, yeah, it is a big deal culturally that she's dead. It's a big deal. And it will change things. Just today, we had Thursday. What is it? Today's Thursday. Just yesterday, Wednesday, we had a judge citing Dolly Parton in a ruling to strike down a drag ban. So if that's not cultural, gravity, I don't know what is. Mm-hmm. So it's a big deal. Not as big as the Holy Phallus, okay? The event's promotional material presented it as a humorous celebration featuring a mock blessing by the Holy Phallus, followed by a quiz on the sexuality of religious figures. There were gay religious figures. So, it's rumored Joan of Arc was a lesbian. Look at her, for the love of God. And Jesus, he roamed the desert for 30 days with men in robes. Probably no underwear, because they would get ripe out there in the desert. It had a drag show and a DJ set. In an Instagram post cited by La Dépêche du Midi, the organizers, which I could have just swore, the organizers wrote that August 15th was the day Catholics headed to Lourdes and proposed reclaiming the date for their own purposes. That did not sit well, having it on that date, with the far right-wing Ravière. She criticized the political background of people associated with the establishment, making allegations about their links to the French left, and to anti-fascist activism. She's better be careful because, as I recall, France still has the guillotine. And I believe it was the far left that used them on the far right. So if I were her, I'd be ixnay on the fallacy. But that, that's just me. I find that story amusing, which is why I thought we should do it. It's not a bad story. I mean, it'd be the same thing over here as, pissing off Pete Hegsbreth or something.
Oh, sure.
Now, do we want to go to Serbia?
Sure.
Do you want to go to Serbia? You ever been to Serbia?
I was there this year. I was there this year for a big conference. I gave a 15, 20-minute talk. I don't know if it's out yet, but it has this whole other
Are you
subject matter
TED
of
talking in
investigation.
Serbia?
It was a conference. I was maybe one of the only Canadians there, or at least even North Americans there. Maybe one or two were there.
Boy,
but
your
basically,
country is getting
yeah.
more and more pissed at us every day. Ooh, child.
General sentiment is that way, but not everyone. There are some capitulators. In the Serbian case, there's this whole issue of like kids that were trafficked in Soviet times and immediate post-Soviet times. It's a very complicated story, but it's not relevant to our subject matter today.
So, such a journalist. I go off on tangents. Everything's relevant to me. So, Belgrade has had Pride events. They started about 25 years ago, 2001. And the headline
Congratulations
says,
to them.
Yeah, good for them. Room for all, LGBT Pride Caravan. Notice how the rest of the world isn't doing QIA. They're all just doing LGBT. Every story you've sent me has been LGBT, which is intentional, FYI. Room for all, LGBT Pride Caravan meets with hostility in small-town Serbia. So in mid-July, gay activists in Serbia headed for the southeastern town of Pirot, the second leg of this year's Pride Caravan, to raise awareness about gay issues and protest widespread discrimination. It's a 2-hour drive from Vranje. Am I saying that right? Vranje? I mean, you've been. How do they pronounce it?
Vranje.
Vranje. Okay, with a Y. Okay.
So their J is pronounced like a Y.
So it's Y. So it's Vranje, where their first ever passed without incident, despite threats posted in advance on social media. Much like in Long Beach, the gay float, which received threats on social media, they held it anyway, and it went fine. The caravan never made it into Pirot, however. On the town's outskirts, they were stopped by police, who warned them that the opponents of the event were waiting for them on the Central Warrior Square. The police said, "We can't arrest everyone. They are peaceful citizens. They're not doing anything at the moment. However, should you proceed, we fear that will change." What religion's in Serbia? Catholic?
Christianity.
Christian,
Probably
yeah.
Orthodox. Serbian Orthodox Church is pretty big.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that in small town Serbia that this would happen. There's a great line in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which is getting a sequel being filmed next year. Yay. I don't know how they'll do without Terrence Stamp, how they'll address him being gone. It'll be funny to see them all old. Guy Pearce, he was the hot youngie, now he won't be. He'll be the old wise one. You have seen Priscilla, haven't you?
No. But I love hearing your Hollywood stories and your movie stories. I know.
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert? You've never, ever, ever seen it?
Nope. I like to process.
I'm not even sure I can process that. It is one of the best movies to have ever been made. From Australia, about 3 cocks in frocks trying to get to the top of Ayers Mountain. It's a story of compassion and homophobia. It's the story of love of all kinds. And there are some, it's what brought us Guy Pearce, the actor, Guy Pearce. Terrence Stamp is in it as a tranny, which is transgendered person, which is fabulous. And then what's his name from The Matrix? The villain in The Matrix. He's bald.
Hugo Weaving.
Yes, Hugo Weaving is a drag queen, a big old drag queen. And it's a fabulous movie. I insist you seek out Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and watch it because they're making a sequel. But there is a line that Hugo Weaving and Terrence Stamp say to the young Guy Pearce after they break down in a little town, because it's all about a bus trip. Priscilla is the name of their bus. And it's all about a bus trip across the deepest, darkest parts of Australia. And they get to a very small mining community, and their bus breaks down. They decide to go out to a gay bar, to a bar that night. There's only one bar, and it's not a gay bar. And they go in drag. And they're spectacular. They're just fabulous. And the Guy Pearce character can pass for real and is very attractive. So he gets a sexual encounter, which goes very bad when they realize he's a guy. And he gets beaten. He gets fag bashed. And so Terrence Stamp says to Hugo Weaving, and they sit by bedside with Guy Pearce, and they talk about the city, the big city center, Melbourne, Sydney. And they say, I'm not sure if the walls of the city are there to keep us in or to keep them out. Them being the homophobes and the people who would harm and kill you. And I thought of that because of small town Serbia. In large cities in Serbia, there's obvious been LGBTQ advancement. They've had pride events for 25 years. But in the small cities, it's still very dangerous to be gay. And the cops knew it, so they told these guys, hey, don't bring your caravan into town. And it just makes me realize that as a gay person, even though cities aren't the safest, we are still safer in larger cities than we are in rural areas. Because they tend to be more conservative and more religious. And
I get the biggest pushback in any conversation in support of LGBTQI plus from basically three groups. Traditionally for me, ultra-religious communities, that's quite natural. Rural communities, or individuals, regardless of socioeconomics. A family from 9-figure family, literally, down to poor, who grew up ideologically or familially cloistered, which produces the result.
Or in the South. Or in the South.
Yeah.
We will finish up on this gay week with Scott Jacobsen and me, Karel, don't forget me, right after this.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way.
Now
Well, on
remember,
radio, I can
the
hear
word
bumper
is
music
F-U-N-K,
on here, so I know when
funk,
to take a break.
honey.
On here,
Do
I
you
can't
want
hear
a
the bumper
funk?
music. I have to see it on the radio.
Hey, it's Karel. Go stream Do You Wanna Funk, my tribute to Sylvester, everywhere you get your music. Karel, Do You Wanna Funk?
Now it's showtime.
All right, we are back. Vegas behind me, burning up. And not for your love, for your money, for your cash. It's burning up, burning. It's literally 109 outside. Woo! It breaks on Monday. I so can't wait. It's only going to be 98 during the day and 77 in the morning. I'm very excited. We're finishing up this gay week. We were going to go a half hour, but I can't only talk to Scott for a half hour. Besides, he called it This Gay Week, W-E-A-K, if we did 30 minutes. And I was like, I will not have it. A couple things before we go. I know it's totally off topic, but I haven't been on air since yesterday, Wednesday. The devastation in Nepal is
Sure.
out of a movie. It is. I saw a video on Aaron Parnas's feed where literally not just a wall of water, but like a 40-foot wall of water just washed over people who are now dead. And gay, straight, bi, it doesn't matter. That's a horrific tragedy. My heart goes out to them. I know Scott's heart goes out to them. I hope that they are able to find survivors, and it's just a terrible tragedy. I wanted to say that on today's show because I won't be back until Monday. And my heart aches for the people at the Nepal-Tibetan border. These are people who are often on a spiritual journey of some kind or something. You know, these are interesting, nice Buddhists who have been swept away. Hundreds of tourists, including people from the United States and the UK and Canada. So dozens of US and Canadian citizens are missing after flash flooding in Nepal. I'm in Las Vegas. He's in Ukraine, but he's from Canada. We all have compadres who might have been killed there, and my heart goes out to them. We were talking about rural and the safety that LGBTQ people. I think that it's been very great doing positive stories this week, and thank you for that, Scott. But one of the things I think we don't emphasize enough is when we do these stories from around the globe, and some of them are really bad, they are often from rural communities, small little countries, or isolated places. This show will chart in Sierra Leone. I have not gone lower than number 20 on the chart in Sierra Leone in 3 weeks. 3 weeks I've been in the top 20 every one of my days, every one of my shows, including this gay week, which is really interesting to me because Sierra Leone only has one gay protection. That's for workplace, and it's barely enforced. And then the rest, it's not a good situation. And in rural cities in Sierra Leone, it's really not a good situation. And so it's always the smaller communities that are the challenge. That's the same thing here in the United States. You know, Las Vegas, 3 million people being gay here, is it a big deal? Sometimes, but not, for the most part, no. But go to Tonopah, go to Carson City, go to Reno, which are much smaller cities. And yeah, being gay is still an issue in Nevada, even though you would think not.
Well, there's, the response I get also to continue my prior point building on yours, to those 3 categories I mentioned. It's also, the dismissiveness is that they'll see it as, like, since I'm from Canada, well, that's just a Western thing. We don't want you imposing LGBT on fill in the blank place. Or you're from the big city. Or you're some elite intellectual types or whatever it might be. And it's as if they don't have gay people in rural places, in every region of the world,
right?
Every era.
Well, I mentioned that comic Matt Matthews. He lives on a farm somewhere with farm animals and shit, and he's gay.
Yeah.
Tennessee is a homophobic state. Nashville's filled with gays, and so are the rural areas. And there's gay farmers. Yeah. There's a whole gay farming community. We found out here on the show. Remember the gay farmers? Who knew?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're everywhere. We'll end with a story from your country. Your real country, not the one you're currently in. Canada's Thunderhead Monument is slated to be unveiled in Ottawa, which I couldn't point to on a map, but let me look. Okay, I see it now. Ottawa, on Friday, that's tomorrow, recognizing the harm caused by the Canadian government's historic and systemic discrimination against the queer community. The monument is also a vision that was brought to life by a team of Winnipeggers. They won an international design competition to start the design of the monument. And they are, in fact, Shauna Dempsey and Lori Milan. If they're not lesbians, they should change their hairstyles because they have shorter gray hair just like me. The monument depicts the strength, hope, and resilience of queer communities in Canada, including the Indigenous. And Canada is putting up a monument to say, we're sorry. We treated you like shit. We know it, and we're sorry. That's pretty cool. Oh, you
It's
act
great.
like it's
It's a good. Well, I mean, Canada's pretty good on these issues now, and this is a continuing moment of a good trend. As with any country, they can always go back. So I'm always a little bit hesitant
Well,
about
because you guys
self-congratulation
had your
about
lavender
countries, but
scare. That you had a lavender scare in Canada. It was the LGBT Purge, a systematic decade-long campaign by the Canadian government to identify and expel thousands of queer members of the Canadian Armed Forces, the RCMP, and members of the Federal Public Service between 1950 and 1990. That is exactly what the lavender scare was here.
this is where you taught me. But we had a story about this at one point, and this is where you taught me about it. Yeah.
So, yeah. So
See, this
you
is
guys-
why I like talking to experts. This is great. I learned so much from experts.
You guys had the LGBTQ purge. We had the lavender scare. We didn't keep it up until the 90s. It did start in the 50s. It ended in the 70s. No, 80s. No, that was Reagan. Maybe we did go through the 90s. maybe you and maybe Canada and us are one and the same. A class action lawsuit was launched in 2016 against the federal government over the purge, and a settlement was reached in 2018. I don't suppose we could sue the federal government here. In addition to compensating survivors, the LGBTQ Purge Fund was established, a nonprofit corporation to manage the funds of the settlements that were dedicated to reconciliation and the memorialization effort. The Thunderbird Monument is the first of its kind in the fucking world.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view.
I don't want to end there. Stop!
Yours.
Stop the presses! Stop!
Listen daily to the correct.
The first of its kind in the world. Like, Canada is leading the way in the apologist movement. And I say good for you.
A big thing also, this is helpful. We now have data. There was the purge, lavender scare in Canada. Fine.
Yep.
Part 2 of this is there was pushback with a lawsuit in 2016.
Yes.
The timeline set is 10 years in a functional democracy for something like this.
And that's
That's
right.
data.
And that's right when it happened. 2016 lawsuit, 2026 monument.
So this is helpful for societies that maybe with less functional democracies or less responsive institutions. That's where the time
Trump leaves in 2028, so are you telling me that I got to wait till 2038 till I'm 73 to start seeing some positivity again in the United States gay community?
The United States is famously adaptable and rapid changing, but it could happen sooner.
I want
or it could
cash.
never happen.
Fuck that. I want cash. I want money for what Donald put me through. All right. I am Karel. Be who you want to be. Sloan didn't hurt anybody. Thanks to Scott Jacobsen with the Good Man Project. He, of course, is in Ukraine. And thank him for joining us in Ukraine. Wait, I think if I cue this segment 6, it's going to be wrong, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have us go out to. I'm going to try to have us go out to commercials, but we'll see if I fake it or not. We'll see you next week. Don't have any bombs dropped on you, please.
Patriot.